All right, we are live. See the freezer next year or okay. Got 3 minutes for the group. Well, we got 1 minute.
You go to that other facility to the Melton Center.
Say that to me again.
Go to the Melton Center.
I do not go to the Melton Center. The Melton Center is a little different at the TDCJ out there. So we do that different. They have different. They have different curriculum they have. Well, all right. Tuesday. The clock says it's 9 o'clock, and so we are slaves of the clock. So we're going to go and take off. Now, this morning, we need to look. The sign-in sheet should be going around. Make sure that you sign in on the sign-in sheet and sign in on the right one. We've had somebody in this group here at North sign on the wrong one. Don't do that, please. You need to have your book with you. Your group, and that's what we do. So make sure you have your book. student. We're going to be talking about spirituality again this morning. All week long we may be touching on that. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do that every day, all day long. But I want us to get through with what we started yesterday, and then I have something else I want to touch on real quickly that has to do with spirituality. If you have your book, you brought it to the right place. This is where your book's supposed to come with you. So if we're coming up with a goal, what would our goal for today be? First, I think in here specifically is not to freeze to death. I come in here and it's like you're in the tropics or you're in Antarctica, one or the other. So that's kind of hard sometimes. If we stay cold one day and hot the next day, that's not really good. But one of the goals that this group has here is not to freeze to death. The other goal is that we can learn a little something else about spirituality, what it is, how it's going to affect our recovery and all of that kind of stuff. Now on page 21, we have our stuff here. So on page 21, it tells us about spiritual health. The first one we went over a little bit yesterday, but today we're just going to take a real quick look at this. This is not what we're doing today, but I want you to know what this is and where it is in your book. So the first one was yesterday, but we didn't go over it very well, so I want to just speak to it a little bit. It says spiritual health, unfamiliar or unwilling. I meet a lot of people who are like that. They don't know, and so they don't go. At this place, we're not familiar with a spiritual life or have been unwilling to accept the existence of spiritual matters. We just believe that this is it, that's all there is, and, okay, that's where we are right there. But today we're looking at confusion, which is the second thing. You would believe that some things transcend the physical world. That means that there are things that we may not understand. We don't know. So we're at that place where we're thinking, okay, there may be something else out there. There may be a higher power. There may be something bigger than myself. But you have no real spiritual grounding. You have no real belief system, and to gain further understanding of spiritual health. Now, here's the deal. That's not true on a complete level, because we all have a belief system about everything, right? We do. Remember, we talk about that a lot. We have our belief system, which drives our thinking, which drives our actions, right? So we all have some belief system in place. Now, we may not have a belief system that is specifically spiritual in nature. If there's people out there that they're just nothing spiritual is ever going to touch their lives, and that's a fine thing. That's okay. But at this point, number two, we're looking at that and we say, well, there might be something. I'm not really sure what that might be. Might be the great pumpkin, could be all sorts of stuff, but I'm not really sure what that might be. So we're going to stay away from that. But we'll go a little bit farther into that as the week progresses. So here's the deal. We went over some of the myths about spirituality. We defined spirituality. We took a look at some of the benefits of spirituality yesterday. And everybody was excited. I could hear you guys clapping and hooing and all of that stuff all the way over there. This morning, what we're going to do real quickly. Why are you looking at me like that? Is that all me? They come in me like a big man. So we talk about spirituality, God and good and all of that kind of giving me that look like.
I'm looking in your soul. I'm looking through your soul.
You ain't looking at my soul, because my soul ain't going to make your face look like that. So anyway, look, these are some of the ways that we can practice spirituality. And we're going to walk through them. Now, we're not talking about religion this morning, but can you practice spirituality in religion? Of course you can. That's how I practice my um, practice my spirituality. But look, I don't believe. I don't know how to say this. Let me get it. Let me get it wrapped around my tongue. I got it over here somewhere, but it's covered up my eye teeth, and I can't see what I'm trying to say. Um, I'm not a religious person. Now, I go to church every week. I'm going to be in church tomorrow night. I'm going to be in church on Sunday, but I'm not a religious person. Religiosity means that I'm following all this set of rules that some guy came up with or some lady came up with, and I'm not into that at all because religion kills. Religion will kill you. You remember way back there in 2000 when those guys ran into the towers? Why did they run into the towers?
They thought they were going to see them angels and
Religion.
virgins.
Religion.
Right.
They went in. That was all. That was all about religion. There's people over in some other countries that are cutting people's heads off and all of those things. Why is that? Religion. So religion can do some terrible things. It can also do some great things, but it can do some terrible things. I'm in a relationship. I'm not religious. I believe in a relationship. I have a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. I am his servant. I am his slave. He is my God and my king and my everything. So it's a relationship. It's not a religion. That's how our church sees that. And so when religion comes in, we try to get it out. When somebody comes into church with they've stepped in some religion or something, it's stuck to their feet. We try to get that off of them before they get in there very good. But there's some other ways that you can practice spirituality, and I want to share that with you this morning. How about meditation? Anybody meditate? Yeah, I do some meditation, and I've had people tell me that meditation is not Christian. Is that true? No, the Bible tells you to meditate on God's word. So that's how you get closer to him. That's how you get more mature. That's how you understand things. And so meditation can be a very spiritual, can be a Christian thing, right? So meditation typically involves self-regulating. What does that mean? If I'm self-regulating, what does that mean? Controlling what I'm doing myself. Yeah, a lot of that has to do with mindfulness as well. We practice a little bit of mindfulness, thinking about what's going on in the moment, right? If we're walking around the block or we're doing whatever we're doing for our mindfulness practices, then we're thinking about what's going on right now. It's good for me to know what's happening in the moment, right now, being in the moment. And so we need to practice doing that. We need to sit around and think about just what's happening right now at this moment. How am I feeling? What am I thinking? Why am I thinking what I'm thinking? All of those sorts of things. So meditation typically involves self-regulating the mind's normal internal monologue. What does that mean? How many people talk to themselves? We all do. We all do. People look at it a little bit strangely if you talk out loud to yourself. But a lot of people do speak out loud to themselves, but we all talk to ourselves. That's what's called an internal monologue. You are always talking to yourself about something. Now we need to take a look at what we're talking to ourselves about and try to get that to a place where it's positive, it's on top, and it's heading me in the direction that I want to go. A lot of us talk to ourselves about bad, ugly, nasty, and stupid stuff, and we need to stop all that. I know people who think when they're having that monologue in their brain, they're thinking that they're a worthless, no count, no good for nothing, lower than a snake's belly and a wagon rut piece of slime person. What happens if you do that? That's what you're going to become. And what you tell yourself is who you're going to become, right? We've had people in this group say, "Well, I'm just super duper emotional." Okay, are you going to remain super duper emotional? If you continue to tell yourself that, then yes, you are. I have my emotions under control. That's why you can't make me angry. You can't hurt my feelings. Well, you can't make me angry, but you might can hurt my feelings. But I have my emotions under control. So if you hurt my feelings, I'm not going to allow it to make me angry. I was coming to work yesterday morning, and I told y'all about this already. And a guy pulled out right in front of me. And man, I'm talking about when I hit my brakes, my phone was on the seat, all of that stuff, my little thing that tells me whether I'm going to die here in the next few minutes or not was in my pocket. All of that stuff went down underneath my dash and all that kind of crazy mess. I mean, I really had to stop because he didn't even look. He pulled out. And just for just a minute, just for a second, my emotions flared up just for a moment. Yeah. But since I have my emotions under control, I prayed about it for a couple of minutes. My emotions went back to where they're supposed to be. I didn't stay at that heightened level, so I just dropped down and went back, went along where I was supposed to be. And then I'm thinking about that, though, my internal dialogue. I'm thinking about what would have happened had I not hit my brakes. I'm thinking about what would have happened if God hadn't been watching over me, had his angels watching over me. I was thinking about what would happen, because he had this big old black, probably a 250 Ford, and had one of them big old bumpers on the back of that thing. My car would have made a little red smotch on the back of his bumper. I backed into, years and years ago, I had a Ford 500. It was just a beautiful car. And I backed into a Jeep. And it had one of those big old winches on the front of it. I backed into that Jeep right at the winch. Guess what it did to the Jeep? Nothing. I got out. I was going to leave a note and all this stuff. I'm looking at the Jeep. There's nothing. There's nothing. There's no paint. There's no anything. I looked at the back of my car and my trunk lid was punched in. And, it's just, terrible, terrible stuff. So that has nothing to do with what we're training on today. But I just thought you wanted to know about that. But I did. Once that happened, I thought about bumping into that Jeep probably for the rest of the day. So we're all talking to ourselves about something. We're always talking to ourselves about something. Man, I see y'all. Man, that's a good looking girl. Wow, that food smells good. I see when we get down to it, you're always talking about. So it should be something positive, right? Sometimes it's not. It should be. So that internal monologue. Now, here's the deal. With the way that we self-regulate it is either by breathing deeply. Deep breathing is a real good plan for us to do on a whole bunch of levels. What's one of the things that keeps us from deep breathing exercise? Smoking. If we're smoking, then, I know most of y'all, there might be some folks that somebody over at North has quit smoking, been stopped for about 6 or 7 days now. That's a big old push-up. Takes a while to figure out how to disrupt the group, but we can do it. We can figure it out. If I throw this across the floor, I bet that'll disrupt. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm real proud of this group. You threw that thing across the floor, and nobody paid any attention to you but me. So then I disrupted the group. So look, focusing on a specific, we can deep breathe, we can focus on a specific point in space. And are we talking about focusing on the television? Are we focusing, we can focus on that picture there, we can focus on this red thing over here and wonder why that thing goes out so often. We can focus on this, we can focus on one particular point in time. You guys go to Sam's ever for gasoline? Sometimes. I went over to Sam's to fill up this morning. They got a new attendant there. You have a guy and he's a really nice guy. But this morning he had his boombox out there, and it was so loud that the machine, the gas pumps were shaking. Oh my God! He finally turned it off. But that keeps you from focusing on anything other than that. So if you got the television on and all of that kind of stuff, it's hard to focus on what you need to focus on because that's going to steal your attention. So you need to be somewhere, if you can do it in your room, go out at the smoking table out there. I used to like to go out there and sit around that table or sit at that table when it was cool enough and stuff. I don't do that anymore. It stinks. So people smoke there all the time. And so it smells like tobacco and smoke and all that kind of stuff. But if you're a smoker and that doesn't bother you because your sense of smell and your sense of taste are shot because you smoke, then you can go sit around that table or somewhere else and watch the trees or do whatever to help you to meditate. Get that one point in space or practicing mindfulness. You know, we just talked about mindfulness. What is that? Mindfulness is getting me focused on what's going on in this particular moment. What am I thinking? What am I doing? How's my breathing regulated? What's going on around me? All of that stuff. Get myself to that. Now, there's a guy named Russell Brand, and I don't know if y'all know who he is, but he's a comedian. He's not funny, but you don't have to be funny to be a comedian today. So he's funny. He's not funny. He's an actor. He's an author, and he's in recovery. So he describes meditation as negotiating with your feelings. That we need to negotiate with our feelings. Sometimes we do, because sometimes we're going to get angry about stuff that we shouldn't get angry about. We need to go in and talk to ourselves and say, look, I need not to do that. Or I need to do something different in that. Because when it comes right down to it, who's responsible for your feelings, who's responsible for your emotion? You are. Yeah. You're responsible for your emotion. So we say that all the time. By now you should have heard it enough to know that that's true. If it wasn't true, we wouldn't be able to say it more than 3 times. And I've said it in here about 40 times, so it's true. So, in general, meditation is a range of practices used to promote relaxation, increase awareness, and develop compassion for oneself and others. So what we're looking for is spirituality. And remember, we talked yesterday about the fact that anything that you think is significant or sacred is spiritual in nature, right? If you think that that's, this thing is really significant in my life, this is something that I really want to have in my life, then that situation, that thing, that whatever it is spiritual to you. So when we're meditating, we're going to get to the place where we're getting ourselves a little bit more relaxed. We're getting ourselves to a place where we're thinking about who or what God is. Right? And so we're getting to a place of spirituality. Now here's the deal about meditation. A couple of people raised their hand. I try to meditate. I don't meditate well, but I try to meditate. I've noticed that just like you, my brain is just like your brain. We all have the same type of brain. And my brain is easily snapped over to something else. When I'm sitting on my front porch, I have rabbits at my house, and I have squirrels at my house. We have possums at our home. They don't come out till nighttime. But if you're sitting on my front porch and I'm meditating on the Word of God, I'm trying to say, okay, what did God mean when He said this? And I'm thinking about it, and I'm meditating on it, and a rabbit jumps across the yard. Am I still meditating on it? Not usually. Look, it's a rabbit. Yeah, seen that same rabbit 40 times. But, oh, yeah. That's the way I can't do that. That's the way I do that. But, you guys do the same thing in here. We're talking about this. You guys are all focused. Everything is looking good. And a squirrel run up that tree over there, and the whole thing is lost. Everybody here. Yeah, it's a squirrel. Yeah. Okay. Same thing if somebody walks through here. It can be a female. It can be a male. It can be the chef when he comes in and goes, So he's not trying to, well, he told me he's not trying to disrupt, but what is he trying to do? Disrupt. That is exactly what he's trying to do. But as soon as he comes in, I just kind of ease off because we're going to be talking, we're not really focused. And when, Sergio gets up and walks out of the group, that breaks concentration completely, But that's all right. Here's the thing. If you've never done it before, or if you're fairly new to it and you're just starting to try to get something going on, just take it slow. Take it easy. Know that, you don't have to get it right the first time. Set aside maybe 3 or 4 minutes, just a few minutes, and just practice. Just sit down somewhere and try to think about one thing for 5 minutes. Now, and don't try to make this a 2-hour thing or a 2-hour ordeal, but for 5 minutes, you're going to think about something. If you want to study the Bible for 5 minutes, you pick your scripture and you sit down, and for 5 minutes, you just think about it. If you want to do something else, think about just get your program book. Find something in the program book and do it. Yes, sir.
Just do it now for 5 minutes.
You want to just shut up? You just look. He said they can do it for 5 minutes. Practice it right now. He didn't want me to shut up for 5 minutes. No, you're going to do that on your own time. You can't do that in group time. Since the people at North cannot see over here right now, we're trying to fix that. The same person who wanted me to shut up for 5 minutes is the one who threw the blood pressure cup across the floor. So anyway, we're going to look. Here's the deal. You just set aside a few minutes. Today at 10 o'clock, don't do it at 10 o'clock, that's group time. Today at 12 o'clock, I'm going to meditate on what a squirrel does as he runs up that tree and why he flips his tail like that as he goes up. I'm going to do that for 5 minutes. I'm just going to think about that squirrel for 5 minutes. And then as time goes by, I'm going to gradually build that up. So I'm sitting around thinking about squirrels' tails flapping for, 2 hours. And man, I'm going to have some spiritual stuff. Can it be a spiritual exercise thinking about squirrels? Yeah, it can be. It can be. You get yourself focused, you get yourself relaxed, you get yourself to is that squirrel significant?
Yes.
He's significant to other squirrels. He's significant to himself. So, you leaving? Okay. Gradually increasing the amount of time as you feel comfortable doing it. As you feel comfortable getting more time to work on mindfulness, if you feel comfortable putting more time into it, do it. And look, you'll see that after a while, this meditation is going to help you to relax. That's a really good thing in our anger management group. One of the things we do is sit down, shut up, don't do anything. And that's exactly how we say it. You guys all right? Y'all okay? You all right? Yeah, you okay? We're having an issue here in the group. But in that anger group, we go in and we do it just that way, and it's really therapeutic because when they come in, they never know when that's going to happen. So we'll stop and we'll say, "Sit down, shut up," and then we'll stay sit down and shut up for 5 minutes. And when somebody's brand new, sometimes they get angry. You telling me to shut up? Let me do that again. Because it's obvious you didn't hear it well enough. Shut up. Just shut up. Why would we do that? To evoke an emotion. We want to evoke the emotion to show the person you just made the choice to let that emotion get to where it is. So, sit down now and shut up. You know, the longer you talk, the longer you complain, that's going to take it longer and longer and longer. So you need to sit down because everybody else sit down, shut up. We can wait on you. So anyway, either seated, you can sit down, whatever's comfortable for you. Sit down, you can lay down, you can do all of that stuff, but you need to be at a place you won't be disturbed. I have a home office that has a pretty comfortable chair in there, and I do a lot of my thinking in there. I do a lot of my meditating in there. I also have a back porch that's 45 feet long and 10 feet wide, and I can sit on that thing and look out and watch the animals run in the backyard. I can sit on the front yard, which is a bigger porch, and I can sit on that. So I have several places around my place where I can go and sit. But we need to be able to find a place even here where there's too many people for us to really get to that kind of place. But we can go in our bedroom and we can find a place in that bedroom and we can practice that. Sometimes we have to practice it when there's other people around. We can do that as we get more used to it. So there's countless meditation techniques. There's a whole bunch of them. But the simplest one involves focusing on focusing on your breathing, focus on your breath, a sensation of the body, or a single word. As you meditate, your thoughts will inevitably drift into your awareness. Try to acknowledge these thoughts non-judgmentally. Think about that thought that's coming into your mind. I have that happen when I'm trying to meditate all the time. When I'm praying, a lot of the time, stuff will just intrude into, I'm trying to talk to Almighty God and something will come into my mind. I'm reading the Bible and I'm thinking about what I'm having for lunch that day. And I'm like, whoa, and I have to stop and go back and restart. And so that's sometimes what I have to do when I'm meditating. I'm thinking, and some kind of crazy, intrusive thought comes in, and I'll have to say, okay, I'm going to get rid of that. I acknowledge that thought. That thought is real. That thought has validity, right? It's important what I'm going to have for lunch today, right? I'm not going to have Pop-Tart. Why am I not going to have Pop-Tart?
Ain't no more.
There ain't no more. Sergio ate them all. He's still eating them. He got some hid, and he eating all the Pop-Tarts. So, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, it's important for me to think about what I'm going to eat that day, but if that's not what I'm trying to focus on right now, I'm going to acknowledge that thought that it came in there. It's valid, but then I'm going to dismiss it. How do you dismiss it? I'm sitting there, I'm meditating on 1 John 3:16, and I'm meditating, and then lunch comes in. How do I deal with it?
Start over.
You can start over. You first, and you may have to start over. First, you acknowledge the thought. Here it comes. This is a thought. I'm thinking about lunch while I'm meditating on John 3:16. That's a very important scripture, and I need to meditate on that, and I need to see what God is saying about that. But here comes this intrusive thought about me eating some spaghetti at lunch today, and so I need to validate that thought. Yes, that's a real thought. I really am going to do that at 11:30, 12 o'clock. However, I am now going to have to dismiss that thought, and we're going back to the meditation that I was doing. Yes.
You said, briefly immerse your face in cold water.
Oh, yeah. Briefly immerse your face in cold water. That will do that. Yeah, that would. I think that was something else that we were talking about. But here's the deal. And this is a recommendation that I want to give you as one of your counselors, and I want to give you this recommendation. You need to get a bag of ice, just one of those small ones. Don't get a big bag. Get one of those small bags of ice, and then get you a tub of some type, and then put that ice in that tub and fill it up with cold water. Don't fill it up with hot water. Put cold water in it, and then carry that with you all over the place. Whenever you need to bring that to group, take that with you. When you go to town, you take it. Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, they lower your blood pressure.
Yeah.
You lower your blood pressure at the same time.
Yeah, and that will lower your blood pressure at the same time. Yeah, that'll work. All right, so here's the thing. Try to acknowledge these thoughts non-judgmentally. So who are you not judging when these thoughts come into your mind?
Yourself.
Yeah, yourself. I have done that 1,000 times. When I'm trying to pray, when I'm trying to meditate on God's word, and this intrusive thought comes into my mind. I'm talking to myself. What a silly person I am. How unworthy I am. I can't even pray without this coming in. I can't even meditate on the Word of God without that coming in. But do you know that that is completely and totally normal? That's what's supposed to happen. I've had people tell me, I do a thing on getting people to go to sleep, helping them get to sleep, and every one of those people, without exception, told me the same thing. My brain just won't shut off. It won't ever stop. It just keeps running and running and running. And I have to tell them, everybody's brain's like that. You're not special. You're not special. Everybody's brain, nobody's brain shuts off. Our brains do not shut off when we go to sleep, do they? No, we get into REM sleep. REM sleep means that we have a dreamscape, and we're having our brains are working on a subconscious level. They're always working. If your brain shut off, you'd fall dead. Yeah, so your brain doesn't shut off. So your brain's going to be doing that. So while you're praying, you're right here, you're focused on this, or while you're meditating on the Word of God, or you're meditating on a pine cone, or you're meditating on a squirrel's tail, or doing that, then there's going to be an intrusive thought. It's going to happen. It's going to come. So you don't need to judge yourself harshly because that happens, because that's normal, because you're human. You also don't need to judge the thought. You can look at that thought and say, well, what's that thought got? That thing, that's horrible, that's terrible, the devil brought that to my mind. No, you just are normal, so don't judge the thought. The thought is valid. You're maybe getting a little hungry. If you're getting a little hungry, of course you're going to think about, hey, there's Pop-Tarts over there where Sergio sits. Maybe I could sneak over there and steal one of his Pop-Tarts. Stuff like that. Sergio said, don't fool with my yes.
Yeah, I read something. That's why they say thoughts travel so many billion miles per second. They can the things at one time.
Well, your thoughts travel across your brain on neurotransmitters. Also, if you've ever looked at a brain, then you'll notice that the brain has all of these white places in it. Your brain is all wrinkled up and everything. And it's wrinkled up so that it can fit in the small area up here. If you take it out and open it up, it's way wide. But it also has all this white stuff between those things, between the wrinkles and all of that stuff. And those things allow your thought processes to go quicker. Some people have more, thicker, white stuff. I can't remember what it's called. Some people have less. If you use drugs and alcohol, it lessens the amount of that white stuff that's in your brain so that your thoughts don't travel as quickly as they could. Y'all know that Einstein was a pretty smart fellow, right? And when he died, they cut his head open, took his brain out. And they were going to try to figure out what the heck, why is his brain so different than our brain? What they found as they sliced it up was that he had a lot more of that white stuff in his brain than the normal person does. So that's not what our thoughts drive on or travel on, but that helps our thought to travel more quickly. So his was going back and forth like crazy. So y'all know what happened to his brain?
Put it put it in
the preservative?
Yeah.
Well, they did have it somewhere and they had it put up, but his sister got it. And so she took it home with her. I don't know if she ate it or something like that, but she did. She get it. Of course, absolutely. You've been in group almost a half hour, man. I don't see how you've held it as long as you have. So don't try to acknowledge those thoughts non-judgmentally, and then take note of any patterns you notice. Every time I'm meditating, I start thinking about lunch. What does that tell you?
You're hungry.
Yeah. Well, so what should you do before you start meditating? Have a Pop-Tart. Don't have Pop-Tart. Don't have. Worst thing in the world for you is a Pop-Tart. When you die, they're going to do an autopsy on you, and what they going to find? Pop-Tart. See, another Pop-Tart person killed. Yeah. So, it's just bad stuff. Look on the back of the package. Before you eat anything, look on the back of the package. Read what's in there. The last time I eat some potted meat was the day I read what was in potted meat. Oh, man. I had somebody tell me what was in Jell-O, and I didn't eat Jell-O for a long time. Now I'm back to eating Jell-O. I like Jell-O because I can get Jell-O sugar-free, and it's pretty good. But, so you know what's in Jell-O? You know what Jell-O made out of? Pig hooves. Yeah. All kinds of, it's made from bones after they melt them down and all of that kind of stuff. And then the gel that comes up out of all of those, that's what they make Jell-O out of. So they really named it when they first did that, first made some of it, they said, look at that jelly. Oh. And so it said, Jell-O? Okay. I'm sorry. Some people going, that's not true. Yes, it is. All right, so acknowledge those things. Take note of the patterns. And if you notice that you're hungry every time before you try to meditate, eat a little something. Eat an apple. Eat an orange. Eat a banana. Eat something that's going to help you to work yourself through the meditation process without having to think about whether or not you're going to eat that day, right? Eat a little something. Just have a little snack. Or look, if you're not really hungry enough to eat, put you a bowl full of nuts right there on the table where you're right there at hand where you can get a hold of them. And while you're meditating, if that comes up, if you feel like you're hungry, grab a handful of peanuts and eat peanuts. Peanuts are really good for you. You should be eating peanuts every day or some kind of nut. So take note of the patterns you notice. It says don't engage with them if you can help it. If you're hungry, you're not going to be able to not engage. You're going to be able to do it. If you're thinking about a person, if you're thinking about a vacation or something like that, then you don't engage in that. What does that mean? If I'm not going to engage in it, what does that mean?
Don't entertain it.
Don't entertain it. Don't go thinking about that. If that thought comes in and takes your mind away from your meditation, what you're thinking on your meditation process, don't go and follow that thought. Don't go and start making plans for your vacation. Don't go and start thinking about that person that you're romantically involved in. Don't go and start thinking about your hunting trip or your hunting dog or your fishing partner or something like that. You need to gently let that go, dismiss that, and ease back into your meditation. Return your attention to the point of focus, because we're there for a reason. There are also many free and paid apps that can help teach meditation that can help you commit to a regular meditation practice. It is good to be able to do those things. So, according to the Natural Center for Complementary Integrative Health, what is that? Y'all seen those books around here with NIH on them? And everybody calls it NIH. but that stands for National Center for Complementary Integrative Health. We get a lot of books from them. We do a lot of stuff from them. So, according to the NIH, regular meditative practice inspires a whole host of physical and mental benefits, including it can lower your blood pressure. And that's a great thing. It can lower your blood pressure. Some of us need to have our blood pressure at a more manageable level, right? And how many of us take a little bit of medication? I take enough medication. I'll tell you, it's just great. I'm working right now at getting off of that medication. I want to get off of that meth. So if something will lower your blood pressure naturally, is that better than taking the pill? Yes, it is.
How you doing that? Working on something natural?
Yes, part of that is exercising. I went and worked out this morning. I did a little bit different workout on my chest this morning. I worked with weights, and we've got some machines. I belong to two different gyms. I belong to one out closer to my home, and I belong to the Planet Fitness right over here. And I go in there and I work out all the time. The other thing is exercise is the big one, but then diet. Yeah, I try my best not to eat junk. If I'm going to read something, I read stuff on the back of a deal. I went to the store the other day, and the lady was giving away peaches, and they were canned peaches. But you know how they do when you go to Sam's or something like that, they give you a free sample. One had cinnamon in it, and the other one had nothing. It was something else, but it was just didn't have cinnamon. So I tried the one with cinnamon, and this girl, she's a good salesman. She's talking about how it's got cinnamon in it, and cinnamon's good for people, and cinnamon's good for diabetic, and cinnamon is cinnamon. I said, okay, all right. Let me read the back of the thing. And it said on the back of the thing, it got cinnamon in it. I said, okay. And then it's got like 14 grams of carbohydrates, which are terrible for diabetic, and 17 grams of sugar. So I said, look, all that crap in there is going to kill something. So always read the back of the thing. And if it's got all that sugar in it, and if it's got all of that carbohydrates in it, you might need to pass it. My rule is if I can't pronounce it, I ain't eating it. If I'm looking on the back, like if you look on the back of a Pop-Tart, there's 7 things in that Pop-Tart you cannot pronounce. Glutamina 3, and blue dye number 19, and it's safe because only 4 people died from eating it last year. So that's a really low number. So you might be the next one. But if you can't pronounce it, don't eat it. There's a guy comes on the radio all the time and says, if it ain't natural, don't do it.
I live words or substitute for something else.
Yeah, you don't know what that is. I have looked up some of those words that's on the back of some of that stuff, and you don't want to know what that is. Most of them are things that keep that thing fresh over a year. And we've talked about it before. If you take an ice cream sandwich and put it out there, it'll run a little bit, but it won't melt. Nothing will eat it. Nothing will eat. Try it. Do it. I've had people. That ain't true. I just can't possibly. Well, do it. Go get you an ice cream sandwich. Put it out there in the heat. See what it does. It'll be there 6 weeks from now. It'll run out a little bit, but it won't. Hey, ma'am, you got a little something red in your hair there.
So you hate none.
Just a little something red.
Where's he supposed to be, guys?
Just run out
He went with Byron.
No, he didn't go by
He walked outside. Yeah, he signed.
Well, absolutely, man. Sure. Absolutely. So there's a whole bunch of stuff it can do. The first thing that we looked at was lowers your blood pressure, and that's a good thing, unless your blood pressure is already low. We looked at some blood pressure this morning, and the bottom number was 40. Is that good?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Bottom number 4?
Yeah, that's terrible. The bottom number is where your heart is resting. If your bottom number is like 30 or 40, it's dead. It ain't resting. It's passed on. So it needs to be about 70, 73, something like that. Doesn't need to be 40. If that thing there's telling y'all your blood is all 40, that thing is not working. Because that ain't right.
What's the difference?
So it's going to, what is it, 120 over 80? That's okay, but that's not, your 120 over 80 is not perfect. Your bottom number is when your heart rests. And so if it's above about 76 or 77, it's not resting well. So it needs to get down to about 74.
And what should the top number?
The top number should be like 140 or below. 135, 140, 120 is okay. If it's 120 over 70, that's perfect. That's a 20-year-old. So it will also lower your heart rate. Is that good? Yeah. You don't need your heart to be racing all the time. There's one of these guys who was that. He was a basketball player, big old tall guy, and he said that when he had a heart defibrillation issue, he's on television now talking about that, and he said when he would just think about getting up, his heart would start racing. We don't need to have something like that go on. We need to get our heart rate up, and then it needs to come back down. And the quicker it comes back down, the better shape you're in. So if you get your heart rate up, I got mine up this morning, you get your heart rate up, and then it takes 2 hours for your heart rate to level back off, you're in bad shape. You need to work out. You need to do something. But if you get your heart rate up, and by the time you walk out to your car from the gym, your heart rate's back to normal, you're in pretty fair shape.
But that was a revolution. Then I was 20. Everywhere you go, I was doctor.
That's because none of them know what they're talking about. Let's 80 is a little high. You got to realize that what that bottom number is your heart resting. So the higher the number is, the less rest the heart is getting. So we don't want it to be at 80 is borderline. It's not resting. So look at that. I don't know. Is it on the wall? Okay. All right. Well, I've been wrong three different times in my life. I've been wrong. Yeah. So this could be the fourth time. I don't know. We'll have to go look. It will improve your blood circulation. This is meditation we're talking about. We're relaxing. We're getting our heart rate down. We're getting our blood pressure down, and our circulation is working better. When one of the reasons for that is that it decreases our anxiety. I talk to so many people who have so much anxiety. And what do you think they tell me? There ain't a way I can get some medication for that. I need some like Lexapro or something other. That will help a little bit, but here's the deal. Meditation will bring that anxiety down naturally, normally, right? And it's much better to get it down normally than it is to take a drug. We have a drug for everything.
And you merge.
How do I do that?
Merge.
How do I do what to my?
Merge.
I don't know what you. I'm sorry.
It's up. How do you merge?
Oh, how do you? I don't know. This all will bring that in. You know when you're anxious, right?
I thought it was wait.
Yeah, and this is all part of that. You get that? You know when you are anxious. You know when you're. My wife suffers from high anxiety and everything, and she'll get when I take her out to eat. I have to help her into the restaurant, and when we get there, I watch her. That anxiety has started. She's just in with people and in places like that, and she'll start to shake and stuff. And so when her anxiety comes down, you see that she normalizes it. So you can see that in somebody, but you don't have that. But everybody gets some anxiety at some time. I get anxious from time to time myself, but a little bit of meditation will help that anxiety. It also gives you increased feelings of well-being. What's the feeling of well-being? What it is? Peace, calm, everything's okay. Everything's gonna be all right. Everything. I need to have that. I need to know that whatever happens today, everything's gonna be all right. Right? Everything's gonna be okay. No matter what happens, everything's gonna work out in the end. And I have to tell you, we this company, Manor, we're going through a lot of different changes right now, and some of them are very badly needed changes. But even if we know that it's needed, and we probably will not survive without the change, does the change still cause a little bit of anxiety? Yeah. Sure. Change is scary sometimes. And so that scariness of that change will cause us to have some anxiety. But like I'm telling everybody that wants to talk to me about it, we're okay right now. You're okay at this moment in time. You are okay. And you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. Right? And so if we do that, that increases our sense of well-being. Hey, Miss Sharp. How are you?
Hey, how are you?
That's Miss Sharp. Y'all know. I was helping Miss Charnel disrupt the group. They were high heels. We have a new dress code where we're dressing office casual, so she has to dress. I would tell her. I will tell her that the noise from the shoes are robbing your well-being. So we have that. It helps us with that feeling of well-being, and gets less stress in our life. All right. How many people know that everybody has stress in their life? And is stress okay? In moderation, a little bit of stress can motivate you to do some things that are really good for you. Stress can motivate you to meditate. Stress can motivate you to exercise. Stress can motivate you to do a lot of things that are going to help you in some way. So, sometimes stress is good. But stress, when it's allowed to get really big, it becomes distress. Distress is stress that you can't deal with. So we need not to allow stress to get to that place of distress, right? So we want to be working toward getting less of the bad type of stress in our life, right? We want to get it out of there.
Unwanted stress.
Unwanted stress. Yeah, and we get a whole lot of unwanted stress all the time. It's like when you have to go take a test. Is that called stress in your life? Absolutely. When you have to finish a report, or when you have to do this, or you have to do that. Some of these things that somebody says you have to do, and a lot of times, if there is a deadline to it, that's going to cause some stress. Right? And if that causes stress in our life, it can get to that place where it's distress. And I want to keep myself from getting to that place of distress. So I'm going to learn to do something like exercise or meditate. So tell me something that's good to meditate on.
The squirrel tail.
That squirrel's tail. We're going to meditate on that squirrel's tail. What else can we meditate on? Might be a little bit more helpful to us.
Blood pressure.
Our blood pressure.
Accommodation.
What was that?
A calm lake.
A calm lake. Yeah, that would help us get into that place. I meditate a lot on what my life's going to be as it unfolds. What's my life going to be like sober? Oh, what an adjustment.
See, that would cause you stress.
It would cause you some stress. What's my life going to be like when I'm sober? What's my life going to be like when I'm sober and stress-free? Okay? Yeah, because I will tell you that when we step out of here, this is a marvelous place for us to be. We're about to freeze to death in here. But this is a marvelous place for us to be because there's a whole bunch of highly trained counselors and therapists around here that is trying to help you specifically, you personally, get to a place of recovery. When we step out of here, what are we going to have?
Whole lot of choices.
What is it?
Whole lot of choices.
Whole lot of choices to make. Absolutely. Now, we're still going to have some people in our corner. We're going to have our AA group and NA group, and we're going to have our sponsor, and we're going to have our sober support friends, and we're going to have our family that do not use. We're going to have all of those people supporting us, right? Supposed to have. A lot of the times, the family that we're going back out to are not supportive. They're not in recovery themselves. They're using themselves. They're abusing themselves. So they're not supportive. We don't have a lot of sober friends. Now, when I was in my addiction, I didn't have any sober friends. If you didn't use, you were useless to me. You know, you wasn't somebody I could get a drink off of. You wasn't somebody I could get a hit off of. So you were useless to me. So I didn't have any I had to get out and make sober friends. So that's what we have to do when we get out. We're going to have to make some sober friends. So we've got family issues. We've got sober friend issues. Look, I will tell you that most people who come through treatment, when they get out of here, need to find a self-help group. Because usually we're going to self-help groups while we're here, but we don't have one set up. Some people have them set up. Your counselor will help you do that. The case manager will help you set up a group in your neighborhood for once you get out of here. But do we go? That's the first thing you have, that first choice you have to make when you get out of here, whether or not I'm going to go to that. Even though somebody else has helped you do it, all of that stuff, a lot of times we don't get that done.
Make that choice.
We make the wrong choice, yeah. I will tell you, there's a lot. I've worked at the prison for a lot of years. And y'all know we had a lot of people who converted to Christianity and a whole lot of people who converted to Islam while they were in there. And we had to have Bibles and the Quran for those people. We had to give them it. Guess where we got them from? Because we got all of our Bibles and Qurans.
What, bro?
Where?
What, bro? Where did you get them from?
Where did we get them from? At the holiday unit in Huntsville. We used to that's where we let most of the people out. We take them up to the holiday unit, and then they come out. We had two big old barrels, one on this side of the fence on the gate, one on that side of the gate, and the Qurans went in that one, and the Bible went in that one. So they'd come out, throw their Bibles and that, throwing them away. You know, they were Christians or they were good Muslims while they're in prison. But once you get out, yeah, because there are benefits to having that go on. We do the same thing in here. I've had so many people, yes, sir, this is it for me. I ain't never again going to do it. I'm going to go out, I'm going to go down and going on a straight and narrow. 3 months later, you're back. What are you doing back? Did you go to group? Yeah.
Soon we go out the front door.
Yeah. Cut that thing off. Go down to the little store there. There's a little convenience store right there near a Holiday unit. They'd go in there and buy what they call a 6-pack of ponies, little beers. So, all right, we're going to come back at about 16 minutes after because we had to talk about some other stuff, and then we'll get it done. Thank you. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't do Jordan.
Yeah, they get it off. Especially
What am I to say? Who am I to question? I'm pretty sure I do. Yes. Thank you. Allow. Legal path. So how was it? Did you get to text your friends?
All right, we're back. A couple of things I want to share with you real quickly. Our painting, which I know that at North you can't see it very well, but it's done so well that we've already got several people wanting to buy the board. We need the board, but we can't get rid of the board. So that's a no-go. But what's that telling you? This is supposed to be like a halo on this old boy. So he's out here and he's got his hands like this and he's kneeling down over here. So he's out in the middle of the pasture and he's having a spiritual moment out in the middle of the pasture. And that means that you can have a spiritual experience anywhere. You don't have to be in a church building. You don't have to be with a group of other people or anything like that. He's all by himself out there in the middle of the pasture. So you can be anywhere else. And this is a fence line behind him. And as you see, the shadows are going off of the fence line, and the sun's up here in this corner. So what does that tell you? It doesn't make any difference what time of day it is. You don't have to have it at a certain time. You can have it at any time. You can meditate. You can be spiritual. You can have some spirituality going on any time of the day, any place, wherever you are, you can do that. You don't have to be out in the middle of a pasture, but you can be. You can also do it downtown. You can do it just about anywhere you want to do it. So, before we get started, just for a lark, I want to read this. Just take a second, and y'all just get a hold of this. This is a Pop-Tart. And I have, since when I saw these, this was the first time I ever saw a Pop-Tart where there was only one in the bag, in the little thing. Usually there's two. And so I guess they're just getting cheaper to give only one. But it says ingredients. This is not as bad as I thought it would be, okay? It says ingredients. Whole wheat flour. That's not bad. Sugar, corn syrup, enriched flour. That don't sound too bad. Wheat flour, niacin, iron, vitamin B1, That's not bad. Look. Thiamine mononitrate, vitamin B2, riboflavin, folic acid, dextrose, soybean, and palm oil, bleached wheat flour, polydextrose glycerin, uh, fructose, wheat starch, calcium carbonate, leavening, sodium acid phosphate, baking soda, dried grapes, dried blueberries, salt, dried apples, sodium stearoid laxatate, citric acid, datim, gelatin, modified wheat starch, yellow corn flour, natural and artificial flavors, xanthan gum, caramel color, cornstarch, numeric extract color, soy lecithin red 40, niacinamide, reduced iron, vitamin A, paltrate, blue 2, blue 1, BG, pyridoxine hydrochloride, riboflavin, thiamine hydrochloride, and extra colors are added.
That's a lot for one pop.
That's a lot for one Pop-Tart. There's 170 calories in here. It has 2.5 grams of saturated fat. It has trans fats. No, it has none of that. Poly something and other fats. It has cholesterol. Doesn't have any cholesterol. Sodium, 115 milligrams. Total carbohydrates is 36 grams. That's huge. Flour, total sugars are 14 grams. Added sugars are 28% of the daily vitamin thing. Protein, it has 2 grams of protein. So, anyway, that's why it tastes so good. It got all that stuff in it. So, here's the next thing we're going to look at. Look, we talked about meditation. Meditation is really good. If we can get into meditation, we need to do it. Is it horrible, terrible, nasty to eat a Pop-Tart?
Yes.
It is horrible, nasty, and should you never eat another Pop-Tart?
No.
No, but here's the deal. Every now and then, you can take a little nuclear waste into your system. Every now and then. But we don't need to take it in on a daily basis all day long, every day. And I know y'all don't do that. But I have seen, tons and tons and tons and tons of Pop-Tarts eaten around here. And it's not just about Pop-Tarts. It's about any of that stuff that's like that. Now, we do have that salad bar in there, and the chef there cooks some really good food. So it's not like we have to eat them. So, but is that a personal choice? Absolutely. Absolutely. So I don't ever tell anybody, just like I don't tell people not to use drugs. I tell you what drugs will do to you, and then everybody knows it's going to be your choice whether or not you're going to use it, right? All right. So here's one thing we can practice also, and it's a real simple, easy thing to do, and it's going to help us a whole lot. It's going to get us in a better place, and we're trying to get to what type of place? A spiritual place. Because here's the thing. We really need to have the help of a higher power if we're going to stay in our recovery. We're not going to be in our recovery easily if we don't have a higher power. So we and this company, we want you to think about having a higher power as part of your recovery program. And look, I'm going to tell you, without a higher power, I would never have made this. Now, I've been sober a minute, but I would never have made it without a higher power. So the next thing, we got meditation. That's one thing, and that's a good thing. But the next thing is gratitude. Just being grateful. And look, how many people are grateful this morning? Can you think of something you're grateful for this morning?
You're alive.
Being alive? Yeah, y'all do that every morning. Yeah, the air working again. That's a magnificent thing. We had a real storm at my house last night. And as we turned off everything and cut off everything, and we sat there, and the lights went off and on 3 or 4 times. And so it was a real big deal. But when the lights go off, the electricity goes off at the house, you don't have those things, and it gives you a sense of gratitude when they come back. You know, when those old boys get the electricity back on and the air conditioning comes back on. I could live without air conditioning. My wife cannot. It has to be. You know, she'll call those people when it goes out. She'll call those people today. So practicing gratitude is a simple thing. It just means taking the time to feel thankful for the positive experiences in your life, both big and small. You know, like you said, I'm alive today. I'm grateful that I'm making another day. Not only am I alive, I'm sober. I'm sober today. Y'all know what I did last night? Anybody? Anybody know what I did last night?
Do you know?
I know what I did last night. That's a big deal. Because years ago, when I was in my addiction, I didn't always know what I did the night before. And I had no idea. And sometimes that was way scary. Sometimes I'd go out and walk around my car to see my truck to see if I had blood on the fenders or something, if I'd killed somebody or if I'd wrecked my vehicle or something, because I didn't know. I had been in a blackout. I had no idea. So I'm grateful about that. I'm grateful to have a job. I'm grateful I'm grateful to you guys for paying such close attention. I mean, rapt attention. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for the fact that I got a place to go when I leave from here today. I got some things I can do. I got some places to go. I got all sorts of things that's going on. I'm grateful that I've got a few friends. I'm grateful that I have pretty good health going on right now. I'm diabetic and all that kind of stuff, but I'm sure grateful for that. And I think one of the big things that we need to look at that in this situation is it says, look, both big and small. I have some big things, and like you said, it's a big thing to be grateful for the fact that I'm alive today. Exactly. Everything else is irrelevant if you dead. I went to another funeral. My wife is going to the funeral right now, and we went to the viewing last night. Another one of her uncles fell over dead, and I've been to a bunch of funerals, and when you go down there and look at that person in the casket, what do they do? Nothing. They just lay there, and they don't do anything. Getting some heat in. See? Last week we opened up the door to let a little air in because it's so hot. Today's opening up the door to let some heat in because we're freezing. So those are big things, being alive and doing all of these stuff. But look, isn't it a magnificent thing to be grateful for the little things? Yeah. What's a little thing that you should be grateful for? Sometimes I walk out of here and I hear people complaining about sandwiches. Look, I'm going to tell you what. I won't tell you that I always like everything that I eat, but I'm always grateful for everything that I eat because when I was a kid, we didn't have no food. And when I was in my addiction, I didn't have no food. I lived under Howard. I didn't have any food. There wasn't any food. So I was about starved to death. So if it's a bologna sandwich, hey, I'm grateful. If it's got a piece of that American cheese on there, I'm even more grateful. If I got a cup of coffee or a glass of milk or something to go with it, then the gratitude is growing every minute. So, could it be better? Yeah, sure. Sure it could be. My wife and y'all know what Papado's is? Big old nice restaurant there in Beaumont. My wife and I went there for somebody's birthday, something other, and the food was spoiled.
It was horrible.
In Papado. It tasted bad, it was funky, and you had to send off
She was a joke.
in Papado. So even in a place like that, sometimes food ain't the best. Here, and the other thing about it, it's my favorite food, right? Free food. You had something for?
The thing about the sandwiches, all they got, the ones that ain't grateful, come on the news, look over in Gaza, you got the empty pans, kids dying and stuff.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, and here's the deal. Before we came into a place like this, then we didn't have anything. And then when we come in here, and look, I have heard no one in this group complain at all. But there was a guy here back months ago, and he did the complaints, not you guys. I'm grateful when I go out here and we have all of those sandwiches in the pan out there, and they got the tin foil on top of it. I'm grateful for the tin foil because I see the fly. The fly going, what can I get in here? I want one of them sandwiches, So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for people taking care of that. I'm grateful for people thinking about that. See, and that's one of the things we don't do a lot of thinking about here, because where do you think the sandwiches come from? Where do you think all the food comes from? Well, there's somebody.
I am somebody.
That's somebody. And she got clickety shoes. Yeah. So there's somebody that sits around there like Miss Sheikah, Miss Rebecca, people like that. That's their whole focus. Make sure that we've got something. We got a nice place to stay. We've got air conditioning on. We've got television. We've got food. We got it going on here. We ought to be grateful, right? And I am. I'm grateful. When I first got here, next month, September the 3rd, will be 1 year I have worked for Land Manor. And when I first got here, I was working for Miss Flores. She was Miss Flores there then. She's Miss Haskell now. But she told me, she said, Doc, if you want to eat, you can eat here. Food is free. I said, oh, that's wonderful. I'm so grateful for that. That's wonderful. She said, as long as everybody else gets something to eat first. So we're going to feed you first. And if y'all don't eat it all, then I can eat, right? Yeah. Y'all usually in there, you eat everything, slick the plate, slick the pan, eat everything, nothing left, But and now and then, there's something left and we get it. So I'm grateful for that. I don't need that because my wife sends me a lunch every day. Sometimes y'all find my lunch in there and do something weird with it, but most of the time, I have a little lunch. I have some pork steak and stuff to eat today that my wife put together, and I'm grateful for that, right? My wife is not in the best of health, but at night she's going to make sure she makes me some type of lunch, even if I don't want it. I'd rather go and I could eat, but she's no, got to do it. So I'm grateful that she loves me enough to do that for me. So I'm going to have something to eat every day. So we need to just understand that we can be grateful for both the big things and the little things, while expressing gratitude as a part of many religious and spiritual traditions. The process can be incorporated into any belief system. If you don't have any religious ideas at all, you don't have any spirituality at all, you can still be grateful for what you got. I'm grateful for my shoes. I like shoes. I like them on my feet. I'm grateful for my underwear. I'm just grateful for everything. I remember as a kid, the welfare department brought us gifts for Christmas. Now, I got 2 gifts from them, and my little brother got 2 gifts from them. And we're all excited. Christmas Day comes up, guess what was in my gift?
Underwear.
Underwear. I had one. I had one thing of underwear, and I had one thing of socks. Did I need the underwear and socks? Absolutely. But I wanted a car. I wanted a fire truck. I wanted a BB gun. I wanted a toy. But okay, people think you weird when you're sitting out in the front yard playing with underwear. It's what I got for Christmas, I was at a church and my birthday was coming up, and they said, Pastor, we're going to have something for you. We're going to have a knife. I said, okay. They said, we're going to bring you some gifts. I said, that's fine. Just don't bring me any socks. That's all I ever got as a kid. I don't want no stinking socks. So when my birthday rolled around, I had like 1,700 pairs of socks. They had bought me so many socks. It was great. So did you have something?
Yeah, I was saying, me, I was calling this.
Yeah.
And I asked my mom, hey, kids all outside playing toys and stuff. I told her, she said, got a roof over your head.
Yeah.
Being outside the cold.
Right.
Some people ain't got nowhere to sleep. Get out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Get your ass out.
Yeah, and I can understand that because I got that same speech. But one thing that did show me now, my wife and I have never been rich, but I guarantee you, at Christmas, Thanksgiving, things like that, going to school, kids had clothes, kids had shoes. I went to school with no shoes. So it was hard for me to be grateful for walking. I had to walk 2 miles to school, and both ways was uphill, which I never understood. But I was grateful for whatever I had. But when you're 8 years old and you don't get anything for Christmas, no amount of your mama telling you no amount of that makes up for that. So my kids never had to do that. Now, I always made sure that they worked for anything extra, but for Christmas and stuff they were supposed to have, they had. Do you have something?
I was about to say you could have made a slingshot.
Could have made a slingshot.
So.
Yeah. How did it tear them things? See, people are always thinking. Yeah. Yeah. Take the stuff out of the underwear, make a slingshot. Could have done that. So here, this process can be done into anything. Gratitude practice doesn't have to be elaborate. It doesn't have to be time-consuming. I have told myself, and I believe myself when I tell myself these things, I'm going to be grateful for everything God gives me. When I'm walking down the street and there's a penny on the ground, do I pick that up? Yes. Now, look, I know what it is. It's a penny. And they've stopped making them. So in 10 years, there won't be any pennies. Yes, sir.
It might be a wheat penny.
Might be a wheat penny. Might be worth a whole bunch of money. But whatever it is, it's at least worth a penny.
Yeah.
Now, I went and bought something the other day, and it was $6.05. I gave her a $10 bill and 5 pennies. And probably all 5 of those pennies I found on the side of God's good to me like that. I'll pull up to a place to get my gas or something. There'll be a penny laying there. Okay, I pull up to the store. There's 19 places you could stop and park. I park right here. I get out and there's $quarter laying on the ground. I'm not believing. God didn't say, use that one. Because there's a $quarter on the ground. I believe that. I was at a little store in Orange the other day, and before I went in, there was $1 on the ground. We're going, okay, now we're getting somewhere. Some folding money. Now I have gratitude for just a little something. Gratitude for a nickel? Absolutely, I'm going to do that. So we can have gratitude. It doesn't have to be just simply setting aside a few minutes every day to write in a gratitude journal or to verbally reflect on what made you feel grateful is all you need. And you can do that. I think that's a great idea. I think journaling is magic. I think it's really medicinal. I think it's a great idea to journal. Get you a gratitude journal. Whatever happened today that I'm grateful for, write that down. But look, you don't have to do that either. You just have to make up in your mind that I'm going to practice gratitude today. I will tell you what, it'll take a whole lot of junk out of your life. when you're trying to feel bad and nasty or ugly or any kind, all of that stuff against somebody else, and you have in your mind that you're going to be grateful, then I'm going to guarantee you, when you're grateful over those things that happen in your life, you are going to feel better than all of those other times. No matter what somebody else does, no matter what somebody else says, I'm grateful for the fact that I've got this, or that I am this, or that I've lived this long, or that my children are not on drugs, or that my dog has not yet killed my cat. Things like that. You'll be grateful about everything when you are looking for something to be grateful for. You need to look for something. And I do. I look for things to be grateful for. I got 4 new tires. I'm grateful for that. My tires, you can see the air through them. They were really in bad shape. So I got 4 new tires. And I got my front end aligned. And, I got roadside hazard and all that stuff on my tires and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm grateful that my car drives better. Now that I want to tell you is not a little thing. That's a big thing. Because, a ton of money there. But
Tires mean more than just tires. My frame like that, I thought I needed frame. Everybody said, hey, you need some more tires. I don't need frame. So I went over and got a tire, just one tire, and put on my car, and it drove smooth.
Oh yeah. I had a pretty nice pickup truck. This was 20 years ago, and it was doing like you was talking about. It was doing that, and so I said, "Oh man." My wife's uncle, the guy who she's at his funeral right now, he said, "I want to buy that truck from you, man." I said, "Yeah, let's do it." He said, "Well, I'm okay. That's all right." So I sold him the truck. He went down, put 1 tire on it, fixed the whole thing, and I'm going, okay. But he did now. See,
What because of the tire?
probably not, but probably not. So anything, and you don't have to do all that stuff. Just reflect on what made you feel grateful. That's all you really need to do. And if we're looking for something that I can be grateful about, if I can't find it, if I can't find anything that I can be grateful for, then I need to go and talk to somebody and ask them. Ask a friend of mine, somebody that's a close confidant. Ask them, is there anything that you can see in my life that I can be grateful? And see if you have any snap at all, then you would know that the person that I'm talking to is a close enough friend that I can ask them a question like that. I need to be grateful for that. Right? And then that friend's going to be able to tell you, yeah, you woke up this morning. You're blessed of God because you woke up this morning. You had breakfast this morning. Look at all of these things that you need to be grateful for. And, it's not hard. Say it again.
Especially a friend.
Yeah. Gratitude practices can also be extended to the people around you in the form of appreciative letters, cards, or gestures. I'm always sending people cards, sometimes letters. Not telling them how much I appreciate them. That's probably what I need to do. But I send them these little cards that say, hey, we missed you in church. Where were you? Hey, your seat was in, we missed your time. Yeah. So whether it's a new promotion at work or a surprise piece of cake, one of the things I'm really grateful for, I'm up every morning early. I don't sleep in. I get up at 4. This morning I got up about 5 minutes till 4. And when I went and worked out, and when I'm coming back, the sun is coming up, and God sets the sky on fire. It's just beautiful. Now, if there's no clouds or anything, it's not as awesome. But when there's a whole bunch of clouds in the sky stuff, man, it's just awesome to be able to take a look at that stuff. It's magnificent. So, that I'm really grateful for that. So a surprise piece of cake, That's okay. Taking time to feel grateful for the good in your life can bring both mental and physical benefits. Now, this is really important. Recent studies show that regular practice of gratitude can first off increase positive emotions. You feel good. You feel good about yourself. Your self-esteem rises a bit. You feel good about other people. And this is one of the things that we deal with when people have issues sleeping. If you have an issue sleeping, sit down and go over the whole day looking at what you have to be grateful for. And by the time you get to the end of your gratitude list, you'll go to sleep when you go to bed. And you don't sit and lay down like go to sleep, take a few deep breaths, and then start going over the things that you're grateful for that happened that day. Yeah, and just look at all the little bitty things and all that stuff. Got to see a squirrel running up a tree. Grateful for that. That was interesting. Watch the rabbit jump. Watch the dog try to catch a rabbit. You know, there are some dogs. We have a husky, and that if it can catch it, it'll kill it. And anything smaller than it's gonna kill. So, but that rabbit, you know that a rabbit is super fast. They are super fast. That dog's fast, but he can't catch that rabbit. That rabbit is like 100 miles an hour, man. He's gone. But watching the dog chase the rabbit and the rabbit get away, that, you know, I'm grateful for that. I don't want him to catch the rabbit. You know, I want the rabbit to be able to get it, and the rabbit always gets away. Rabbit, it just sits there. He ain't worried about the dog. He knows he can outrun the dog. He's outrun the dog 19 times, so he knows it ain't a big deal. You know, so he's just sitting there, and when the dog will ease around a little bit, act like it ain't going, and then it'll bolt after the rabbit. Boom, the rabbit's gone. Yeah, you know, and I'm always grateful that the rabbit smart enough to watch, you know. So that improves your sleep. It enhances empathy. When I am grateful for the things that are in my life, that God is doing in my life and all of those kinds of things, then I can look at other people and say, you know what, your life would be better if you were just grateful for the things God's already given you. Say right again.
What definition of empathy?
Oh, the definition of empathy. What is the definition of empathy? It means I can feel what you're feeling. I know how you feel. Sympathy says that, look, I see you're having a bad day. Let me do something to make that better. But empathy means I can feel like you feel. And if I empathize with you and I see that, hey, you're having a bad day, you feel bad and all of that kind of stuff, and if I can go up and pat you on the back and say, you know what, look at what happened to you today. You should be grateful for that. You know, and help you learn to be grateful for the small things in your life, and it will get some of that stuff off of you. It contributes to quality friendships and quality relationships. You know, how about when somebody comes in, when you come to work in the morning, somebody comes in and says, hey, good morning. Are you grateful for that? Somebody, look, a lot of people just do that out of passing. They just walk by and say good morning. It doesn't mean anything. But if you look at what it's supposed to mean, they're saying, good morning. I'm hoping that you're having a good morning. I'm hoping you're feeling well. I'm hoping that everything is going the way for you that it's supposed to go. I'm hoping your day's going to be good starting with your morning. That's a big thing. Thank you. You know, so when people come to me and say good morning, I say, well, thank you. Good morning to you too. Because what I mean is I want you to have a great day. And I want it to start with your morning. So, you know, I'm grateful for when people come and do that. So, it helps with friendships, having quality friendships, quality relationships. I am, like I told you, I'm grateful. My wife is getting in a place she can't do as much as she used to do. But I'm grateful for the things that she can do. And here's one of the things that I think is very important. We don't need to be grateful in silence. I've had people tell me before that, you know, well, I'm grateful. You know, I appreciate what people do for me. I just don't say anything about it. Well, that's ignorant. That don't help. You know, if you're grateful for what people do for you, if you're grateful what people say to you, if you're grateful how people treat you, you need to tell them. You need to let them know that you're grateful. Just, you know, be verbal about that. Man, I appreciate the fact that you do this, you do that. I appreciate that. And then the last thing here, it bolsters our physical health. Just to be grateful can bolster your physical health. That means it can make you feel better because being grateful helps to lower stress in my life. Being grateful helps me to sleep. Being grateful does all of those things that help me be better. So, what do you think about all that?
Good. They say, if a person greets you on a subside citation, like good morning,
Yeah.
you're supposed to return with an even better one.
Yeah, yeah. And he says somebody greets you with a good morning or something like that. You're supposed to greet them back with something better, more meaningful than that. Yeah. And yeah, I can agree with that. That sounds good because what that says is that I am grateful for the fact that you did that. So when somebody says good morning, what would you say to them?
Great.
Have a
blessed day.
Great.
Oh, have a great one. Yeah, yeah, that will work. Oh, yes, sir. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. You have a good morning, and the rest of your day be good as well. Yeah, yeah. Have a I want you to have a wonderful day today. Yeah, that's a good point. All right. So look, I think we met our goal for today. I think we've learned a little bit more about how to do some.
In the slide, funny remarks.
Well, we ain't quite to that point yet, but we're getting there. I think we've met our goal, right? I think we've met that goal. What was the goal?
To learn something.
Learn something about a little bit more about spirituality, how to get spirituality jump started in our life, and by the study of meditating. I think we did that, and by the study of being grateful, I think we did that as well. So you know, so I think we did it. So we're going to shut down just a little bit early. Any questions, comments, or snide remarks? And if you guys have questions, comments, or snide remarks over at North Point, write them down. Sir, you all want to tell us something you learned?
I learned, meditate. I just say a lot. I'm glad you shared it. And let me know I'm not the only one. When I'm trying to pray, not for something.
Yeah.
I have all these thoughts coming across my head that I have to start over like 30 times doing my prayer. I'm glad you said not to be too negative about it.
Right.
I do. I'm like, man, why am I thinking?
Yeah. That is a good point. Sergio was talking about the fact that when we're praying, trying to commune with God, all of these thoughts will run into our head. And it is a good thing to know that we are not unique in that happens to everyone. So, all right, thank you for all of that you've done today. I appreciate you. No, yeah. And most of us do think it's only happening to us, but it's not. It's happening to everybody. So thank you. And I'm going to cut down just a little early because I have a meeting to attend. And